Joel Sherman for Three Things this morning. Still at Yankee camp. Wrote in the New York Post, so you could get it in the newspaper, nypost.com, about Ben Rice. So why don't we deal with three issues about or around Ben Rice this morning and start with number one. I mean, everybody knows his origin story. Yankee fan who grew up in Massachusetts. His time at Dartmouth was severely interrupted baseball-wise by COVID. He organized leagues, he organized a team, he got himself drafted in the 12th round by the Yankees, and he steadily worked his way up the system and got a breakthrough in 2024. He had a 3-homer game. He went downhill to the point where he got sent to the minors, and then he kind of burst through last year, had a very good year. And some people don't like comparisons. I do. They help me see the game a little better. The game's been played for 150-ish years. There's lots of ways to look at things by age, by performance, to see people who are like other people. And you could, it's an exercise. And one of the things that I did notice is he's played 188 games. And so for number one, why don't I start with, he looks a lot like Kyle Schwarber through 188 games, and that's both statistically, if you'd like to go look at those 188 games for both guys, and also to some degree a little bit of history. Both are guys who came up as catchers. Schwarber much more hailed. He was the 4th pick in a draft and came up right away. Both guys showed probably early on, especially Schwarber, that they don't belong at catcher, but lefty hitters, terrific power. Schwarber more, a great feel for the strike zone at a young age, incredible self-confidence, hard work, and smarts. They both had it. I talked to Anthony Rizzo, who played with both guys early in their career. You could read what Anthony thought. I didn't include some quotes from Joe Madden, who managed Schwarber, who I talked to and is still an avid baseball watcher and loves Ben Rice, and so at least what I said, the outlines of it, that he had it. It's 188 games. Again, you get fooled by 188 games. Through 188 games, both Schwarber and Rice have numbers that look a lot like Kevin Moss. If you're a old Yankee fan, you'll know Kevin Moss came up in 1990, most of it while Don Mattingly was hurt. He played a lot of first base. He was a matinee idol. He was a good-looking kid, and he hit a ton of home runs early, and the Yankees thought that was their future. They put him at first. They put him as the DH pretty much the next season when Mattingly came back. And the league adjusted, and he was never the same, and he was pretty soon out of the game. What I like about the comparison with Schwarber and Rice is it could be lost to time, because Schwarber did something very dramatic in 2016. He blew out his knee in the second game of the season, and when there was thought no hope he would play before 2017, again, the hard work, the ethic, he came back and made it to the World Series magically. The Cubs won for the first time in 108 years. He was a hero. But during the 2017 season, he performed so poorly, he got sent to the minor leagues, much like Rice did last year. And what good players do when they get adjusted to is they adjust again. And obviously, from the point where Schwarber comes back, it gets a little better. Though at some point the Cubs give up on him, and it's not really until about the last 5 years, once he leaves Chicago, where he's become one of the most consistent, especially power hitters in the sport. He was a monster. He had 56 last year. He finished behind Shohei Ohtani for the MVP. Where on that path is Ben Rice? That's a lot to ask. Second in MVP, 56 homers. But can Ben Rice be 80 or 85% of what Schwarber is today? Can he stay on that path? Again, if you like the kid, and there's so much to like about his makeup and his willingness to work and how much self-belief he has in himself and the power, do you believe he could turn himself into a decent first baseman who just continues this ascension as a hitter? The Yankees always like the underlying numbers. Underlying numbers last year that looked a lot like Kyle Schwarber's. And they thought it would manifest, and they manifest last year. Which brings us to number two, just how important Ben Rice is in 2026 and moving forward. Yankees not had a really consistent first baseman year after year since the heyday of Mark Teixeira. They had a little Luke Voigt here, a decent season by Anthony Rizzo there. but nothing consistent at the position for about a decade now. And Rice is going to be given that opportunity. He's still catching a little bit. I don't think it's impossible that he gets behind the plate. But what the Yankees want most is for him to bat 5 times a day, hit like 5th in the lineup, be sitting there in, grow to the point where when Giancarlo Stanton's contract runs out in 2 years, after the 2027 season, the Yankees still feel like they have a middle-of-the-order guy to pair with Aaron Judge. He certainly hinted at that last year. So his importance kind of can't be overstated. He's important in 2026. He's important moving forward. That he be a guy who solves that position for a while and continues to hit in the middle of the order. It's a big part of this year for the Yankees to get where they want to go, and a big part for their near future. And so that brings us to number 3. Why don't we talk a little bit about roster construction, which will kind of look all different probably a month from now when the Yankees actually have to make this decision when they're breaking camp and heading to San Francisco to open their season. But right now they have, I believe, 11 of the 13 position players they know they're going to go with going, healthy and going. Again, will Stanton stay healthy? Will etc. stay healthy? But if they're healthy, they've got 11 lined up. The last 2 spots are a lot about, do they have somebody who hits right-handed who can play left field, and do they take the third catcher? And that's where Ben Rice comes in again. Do the Yankees against lefty pitching, because once they bring Paul Goldschmidt back, they want Goldschmidt to start against lefties. It's a skill that has, into his late 30s, held on a little bit like his prime. The power is mostly gone. Some of the first base skills, still a good first baseman, but not the great Gold Glover of his youth, is gone. But he can still beat up lefties. I would think the Yankees want to play him against lefties. In those situations, does Ben Rice catch? Because while Ben Rice hit in the low 200s, his slugging percentage was in the high 400s against lefty pitching last year. And the Yankees, again, for the near future of the team, want to make sure, or at least find out, if Rice can handle left-hand pitching. So the question is, do you go with Rice and Wells and send J.C. Esquera to the minor leagues and create a couple of positions, extra position player situations? And is that Oswaldo Cabrera, who has not played in a game yet? Remember, terrible fracture of his ankle last year. Aaron Boone has been very tempered in his enthusiasm for how quickly he's come along. Not for the guy. They all love the player and the person, but just he hasn't gotten on the field yet, and the doctors haven't said it's okay. So does he make it to the start line where he's an option? Does he hit right-handed well enough? That's the problem for him and Jason Dominguez. They're both switch hitters, but they hit so much better from the left side and not well enough from the right side. Do the Yankees go out in the marketplace late in this spring training? I'll throw out a couple of names. Be careful. I am not hearing they're interested in these players. I know they were interested in these players at previous times. So one is Austin Slater, who is a 20B free agent, which means on a non-roster invitation, his new team, which is the Detroit Tigers, has to tell him 4 days before the end of camp if he's going to be on the 26-man roster. If not, he could declare himself a free agent, and the Yankees traded for him last July and were interested in him again in the offseason. Is he the kind of guy, if he isn't going to make the Tigers, the Yankees jump on? Chas McCormick, who signed a non-roster invitation with the Cubs, has an opt-out on March 21st. Again, 4 days before the Yankees. The Yankees are beginning the season on the 25th before everyone else. Them and the Giants are playing the Netflix game. If he doesn't make the Cubs, do the Yankees try to jump on him? Randall Grichuk is still a free agent, a guy they've had interest in over the years. Do they jump on him? So I think part of the interest about Rice also is, do they dare to go with 2 catchers where one of them is playing first base all the time? And, you run that risk of, how do I double switch out of this? If I want to pinch run for somebody, do I leave myself vulnerable if a catcher gets hurt? Oswaldo Cabrera, by the way, would be the emergency catcher in such a situation if he made the team. So they have that decision that they're going to have to make, which will include, do they detract from Rice's overall offense and ability to adapt to first base if they put him behind the plate with any regularity? I think it's an interesting issue to follow in the next 4 weeks. Not quite as interesting as how does Ben Rice continue to mature And does he stay on the Kyle Schwarber path towards real greatness?